The Ammons family haunting, 200 demons and the house that terrified Police Introduction in 2011. A chilling and unprecedented case of supernatural horror took root in Gary, Indiana. What started as an unassuming family's struggle with unexplainable phenomena soon spiraled into one of the most bizarre and heavily documented cases of demonic possession and haunting in modern U.S. history. The case of Latoya Ammons and her 3 children was not only backed by the family's own terrifying accounts, but corroborated by a staggering number of professionals, including police officers, child protective services workers, psychologists, and a Catholic priest. The claims were extraordinary. Children levitating, walking backwards up walls, growling in unnatural voices, shadowy figures looming in the corners, and more than 200 demons allegedly residing in their modest home. Unlike many urban legends or ghost stories, this one came with paperwork, medical reports, police statements, and first-hand testimonies that would stun even the most skeptical minds. In this documentary, we will walk you through every stage of this nightmare, from the first haunting footsteps to the final exorcism. We will confront every question. Was it real? Was it hysteria? Or did something ancient and dark truly infect this home on Carolina Street? Welcome to the most disturbing possession case you've never heard. Until now, Chapter 1. Meet the Ammons. Latoya Ammons was a devout and humble single mother living with her 3 children and her own mother, Rosa Campbell, in a rental home at 3860 Carolina Street in Gary, Indiana. Life was never easy, but Latoya was focused on raising her children with stability and spiritual grounding. However, things took a dark turn. Just days after moving into the home in November 2011, it began with something seemingly trivial: a sudden infestation of black flies swarming their screened-in porch during the dead of winter. No matter how many times they cleaned and exterminated, the flies returned. This was their first warning that something unnatural had taken root. Then came the strange sounds, heavy, methodical footsteps echoing through the halls, even when no one else was around. Doors creaked open by themselves. The sound of growling emerged from the shadows. Latoya and her mother would wake up to find wet footprints on the floor with no known source. At night, unseen forces would shake their beds violently. The family began to feel watched, as if a presence lingered in every room. The children, especially, became disturbed. They complained of seeing dark figures lurking in the corners. Fear gripped the home like a vice, and the family started sleeping together in the same room for safety. Latoya began praying fervently and burning sage, desperate to protect her children. But the evil would not leave. It was only just beginning to show itself. Chapter 2. Escalation of the haunting. Over the next few weeks, the strange occurrences turned violent. The youngest son began talking to what he described as a dark shadow with red eyes. He would cower in fear, claiming the entity threatened to take him away. One night, Rosa Campbell witnessed her 12-year-old granddaughter levitate off the bed. While unconscious, terrified, the family attempted to wake her, but failed. After several minutes of prayer, the child slowly descended back onto the mattress, her eyes fluttering open, with no recollection of what had occurred. That night, Ammons family, packed a few essentials and fled to a relative's home. But the disturbances followed them. Wherever they went, the children's behavior became increasingly erratic. One boy growled at his brother and spoke in a voice that sounded inhuman. Another child appeared to be possessed by multiple spirits, speaking in tongues and describing events he could not have known. Latoya's concern turned to desperation. She sought help from local churches, pleading for an exorcism. Most were skeptical. One pastor finally visited the home and declared it filled with spirits. He urged Latoya to anoint the windows and doors with oil, to pray, and to fast, but it wasn't enough. Whatever was attached to her family, it was growing bolder, more aggressive, and more violent. Chapter 3. Medical intervention and CPS involvement. By early 2012, Latoya's desperation led her to take her children to medical professionals. The children were evaluated by psychologists, but what followed baffled even seasoned doctors. During one hospital visit, a nurse and a CPS worker witnessed Latoya's 9-year-old son speak in a demonic voice, growl, and suddenly become unconscious. Moments later, he sat up, grinning eerily and describing what everyone had said while he was out. Another time, in the presence of doctors and child services, one of the boys reportedly walked backwards up a wall, a moment so horrifying and inexplicable that seasoned professionals fled the room. Child Protective Services launched a formal investigation. The children were temporarily removed from Latoya's custody due to concerns about their welfare. But what made this case different from any other was the documentation. CPS workers themselves recorded unexplained events, flickering lights, oil dripping down blinds, and furniture moving on its own. One caseworker claimed that a shadow figure appeared behind her and gave her a lasting headache. Another found strange boot prints on the floor when no one else had been present. What should have been a standard abuse investigation turned into something that defied logic. The professionals began to fear that Latoya wasn't hurting her children. Something else was. Chapter 4. The investigation begins when seasoned police officers began entering the story. The haunting took a new level of legitimacy. Captain Charles Austin of the Gary Police Department was initially skeptical. He thought Latoya might be suffering from mental health issues or exaggerating, but his opinion changed dramatically after he entered the Ammons house, accompanied by CPS workers and other officers. He documented strange phenomena, a cabinet moving on its own, audio interference with their police equipment, and an overwhelming sense of dread inside the home. During one visit, a CPS worker used her phone to snap pictures in the basement and later discovered a shadowy figure in the image, one that hadn't been seen with the naked eye. Another officer's recorder malfunctioned, despite having fresh batteries. Several investigators refused to return, visibly shaken. Even more unsettling, some claimed they felt physically ill upon entering the basement. This was the first time law enforcement didn't just dismiss the story. They were witnessing something themselves. With signed affidavits, audio recordings, and visual evidence, the Ammons case gained a level of official recognition rarely seen in paranormal cases. Captain Austin, now a firm believer, reached out to the Catholic Church for assistance. The case was spiraling beyond police capability. It was no longer just a domestic disturbance or a child endangerment investigation. It was a crisis that touched the realms of psychology, law, and the supernatural. For perhaps the first time in U.S. history, police officers were not just reporting criminal activity. They were documenting what they believed to be a demonic infestation. Chapter 5. The Exorcisms. The Catholic Church took the Ammons case seriously. So seriously, in fact, that Father Michael Maginot, a local priest, was authorized to perform a series of exorcisms on the family. But before this could happen, he had to investigate thoroughly. After meeting with Latoya and hearing her stories, he blessed the home and performed prayers. Immediately, strange things began to happen. The lights flickered uncontrollably, and the blinds began dripping with oil. Father Maginot took it as a sign. This was indeed a spiritual battleground. He prepared for the exorcisms over weeks, conducting psychological evaluations and gathering evidence. In June 2012, the first official exorcism was performed on Latoya. She convulsed violently and screamed in voices not her own. Over time, Father Maginot conducted 3 major exorcisms, one in Latin, which he described as among the most harrowing experiences of his priesthood. Each time, Latoya exhibited signs of possession, including unusual strength, deep growls, and violent reactions to holy water. The final exorcism marked a turning point. Latoya felt a weight lifted, and soon afterward, the family moved into a new home. The strange behavior ceased, but the trauma remained, leaving behind psychological and emotional scars. For Father Maginot, it was a spiritual victory, one that reminded him that evil is not just a metaphor, but a force that can manifest in terrifying ways. For the Ammons family, it was a long-awaited moment of peace, but one that came at an unthinkable cost. Chapter 6. Legacy and Media Impact. The story of the Ammons haunting eventually gained national attention. Media outlets, from USA Today to Inside Edition, covered the bizarre events. The case even caught the attention of paranormal investigator and filmmaker Zach Bagans, who purchased the infamous house in 2014. Bagans later produced the documentary Demon House, which explored the history and horror of what took place inside. In 2018, he demolished the house, believing it too dangerous to remain standing. Skeptics questioned the authenticity of the events, attributing them to mental illness, religious hysteria, or media sensationalism. But the sheer volume of documentation, medical, legal, and ecclesiastical, continues to puzzle even the most rational minds. Psychologists, police captains, priests, and social workers all attested to the strange occurrences. Whether or not one believes in demons, it's undeniable that something profoundly disturbing happened to the Ammons. Family. The case remains a chilling reminder of how little we truly understand about the line between psychological disturbance and supernatural influence. It raises important questions. Can a place become cursed? Can belief itself shape reality? Or are there truly forces among us that defy human comprehension? The Ammons family may never have all the answers, but their story continues to haunt all who dare to listen. Chapter 7. Aftermath and unanswered questions after the exorcisms and the family's eventual relocation. Life slowly returned to a fragile sense of normalcy for the Ammons family, but the scars, both physical and emotional, remained. Children, once pawns in what some called a spiritual war, now carried memories of an experience they could never fully explain. Latoya, though free of the demonic oppression, faced an uphill battle to reclaim her peace of mind, her faith, and her family's stability. Though the hauntings had ceased, the public scrutiny had not. Critics labeled the story as fabricated, a hoax, or a desperate plea for attention. But the Ammons family never sought fame or fortune. They refused book deals and declined most interviews. They wanted privacy, not publicity. To this day, Latoya remains mostly silent about the ordeal. For her, the story doesn't need validation. She knows what happened. The original home at 3860 Carolina Street is gone, demolished by Zach Bagans after filming his documentary. But its legacy persists, not just in the world of paranormal enthusiasts, but also in academic, religious, and psychological circles. The case is now referenced in college courses on religion and psychology, studied by paranormal investigators worldwide, and whispered about in online forums late at night. It remains an unsettling chapter in modern supernatural history. For every answered question, the verified reports, the signed affidavits, the exorcism approvals, there are a dozen that remain unanswered. What truly happened in that house? Can science ever explain it? Or must we accept that some things exist beyond reason? The Ammons case leaves us with more questions than conclusions. But one truth is clear: the line between the seen and the unseen is thinner than we dare to believe. Conclusion asks, the Ammons family's ordeal may be over, but the echo of what happened at 3860 Carolina Street continues to resonate. Whether you believe in demons or dismiss it all as delusion, this case forces us to confront the unknown. When police officers run in fear, when doctors admit confusion, and when a priest invokes centuries-old rites to battle unseen forces, it tells us one thing: something happened here. Something real. Something terrifying. The 200 demons may be gone, but their legacy lingers in whispers, shadows, and official records. And for those who look too long at the darkness, sometimes the darkness looks back.